People think getting old makes you soft. Ha ha! That's the funniest lie I've ever heard. Getting old don't soften you, it strips you down to the bone. I'm 60 now. Gray hair. I stopped dying years ago. Joints popping like bubble wrap every time I stand up. And a face that's seen enough nonsense to last 3 lifetimes. Folks see me and think I am just another tired retired teacher who smells like chalk dust and coffee. If only they knew. Back then, before everything went to hell, I was the kind of woman who believed in rules. Believed that if you stayed honest and worked hard, the world would meet you halfway. Yeah. Dumb. I know. My son Marcus used to clown me for that. Ma, the world don't work like that, he'd say, laughing, shaking his head like I was adorable or something. He had that grin crooked, reckless, full of confidence. Damn kid always thought he was invincible. The night he died, I was grading papers at the kitchen table, red pen in hand, TV mumbling in the background. It was late, way past the time he usually checked in. I remember thinking, that's weird, but I didn't panic. Not yet. Marcus was grown, 22. Thought he ran the streets. Then the knock came. Slow, heavy, official, you know, the kind. My heart dropped so hard I swear it hit the floor before my feet did. When I opened the door, there were 2 cops standing there, faces stiff, eyes already apologizing. I didn't cry right away. Funny thing about shock, it freezes you. They said hit and run an instant and nothing we could do. And all I could think was, that's funny, because I'm still breathing and my son isn't. They never said the driver's name. They never even looked me in the eye when I asked. Just mumbled something about an ongoing investigation, handed me a card, and left like they were late for dinner. The funeral came and went. People brought casseroles, said the same tired line sees in a better place. God has a plan. All that blah blah nonsense. I smiled. I thanked them. Inside, something cracked. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet, nasty little break that never healed right. A week later, I went to the station. Then again and again. Each time, the case got thinner. Files missing. Calls not returned. I wasn't stupid. I knew what that meant. Someone with money had cleaned up a mess. Marcus wasn't perfect, hell no, but he didn't deserve to be erased like a typo. The rumor came easy, slipping through town like smoke. Rich kid. Daddy with connections? Fancy lawyer. Accident paid off and buried. When I confronted one of the detectives, he sighed, real tired-like, and said, "Ma'am, sometimes you gotta let things go." Ha ha! Let things go. That's what you say when it ain't your kid in the ground. I went back to teaching, because what else was I supposed to do? Rent don't care about grief. Kids don't care either. They still need grades, still need lessons, still need someone pretending the world makes sense. I taught history, which is ironic as hell, considering how much of it gets I'd stand in front of the class, talking about justice and rights and truth, while thinking about how the real world laughed at all of it. Years passed, the town forgot Marcus. I didn't. Every detail stayed sharp. The sound of his laugh, the way he slammed doors, the smell of his jacket. I started collecting things, not weapons. Nah. Paper, dates, names, rumors. Little crumbs people dropped when they thought I wasn't listening. People talk way too much around old women. They assume you're harmless. That's their first mistake. I watched careers rise. I watched headlines disappear. I watched the rich kid grow into a rich man. Clean image, clean suits, fake smiles on billboards. Meanwhile, I aged. Wrinkles came in like battle scars. My hand shook sometimes, but my mind? Sharp as ever. Every night, I'd sit alone, Sipping cheap whiskey ja. Teachers drink to and whisper to the dark. Not yet. Revenge ain't about rage. Rage burns fast and leaves nothing but ash. Nah. Revenge. Real revenge is patience. Cold, quiet, surgical. NAR. Trust me. I had time. Retirement hit me. Funny. Not gonna lie. One day, I was still pretending to care about dress codes and homework deadlines. Next day, I was sitting on my porch at 6 a.m., staring at nothing. Coffee going cold in my hand, thinking, so this is what quiet sounds like. Folks congratulated me, said stuff like, you earned it and now you can finally relax. Relax! Like grief clocks out when you turn 60. Truth is, retirement gave me something I hadn't had in decades' time. Real time. The kind that stretches and breathes and lets you think too much. At first, it scared me. Without students, without schedules, memories got louder. Marcus showed up everywhere in the way the screen door creaked, in the neighbor's kid laughing too hard, in the smell of rain on hot concrete. Some mornings I'd wake up mad as hell. Like, why am I still here when he ain't? Other mornings I felt numb, just floating through hours like a ghost haunting her own life. But then, slowly, something shifted. I started noticing patterns. You live long enough, you see how lies age. They don't disappear, they sag. Crack. Start smelling funny. The rich man's name kept popping up in places it didn't belong. Charity boards, city meetings, school donations. Yeah. Funny how close he stayed to the places where truth gets taught. I started attending those meetings, sitting in the back, nodding, smiling, like a harmless old lady killing time. If only they knew. I wrote everything down when I got home. Dates, faces, side comments. I clipped articles, saved videos, downloaded speeches. I wasn't building a bum, I was building a mirror. Let people see themselves clearly for once. Some nights I'd laugh out loud, just sitting there alone, thinking, damn, Marcus would have loved this mess. He always said the loudest people got the most to hide. Smart kid. I even went to the cemetery less, not because I forgot him, because I didn't want my pain to rush me. Pain makes you sloppy. I needed calm, I needed boring. I needed to look exactly like what everyone expected. An aging widow with too much free time and nothing dangerous left inside her. Meanwhile, the man who took my son, he slept just fine. That part used to eat at me. How someone could walk around free, laughing, shaking hands, while my child was bones under dirt. Then one night, sipping whiskey again, staring at his face on the news, I caught myself smiling. That scared me for a second. What kind of woman smiles at the devil? Then I realized, though, it wasn't joy, it was certainty, because I finally understood something real clear. Men like him don't fall from punches or guns. Nah, they fall from their own mouths, from their own pride, from thinking they untouchable. And I was about to give him plenty of rope. I didn't know exactly how yet, not fully, but I knew this much when the truth finally showed up. It wasn't gonna look angry. It was gonna look calm, polite, old, and by the time anyone realized what was happening, it'd already be too late. Small towns got a funny way of pretending they're quiet. They ain't quiet at all there. Loud as hell if you know how to listen. After retirement, I started showing up everywhere people didn't expect me to be. Morning diners, church fundraisers, city council mixers, alumni events, places where coffee's weak, smiles are fake, and everybody thinks everybody else ain't paying attention. I'd sit there nodding along, going and oh really? Letting folks talk themselves tired. People love an audience, especially one they think is harmless. Being an old woman is like wearing camouflage. They see gray hair and soft shoes and assume your brain checked out years ago. Damn shame for them. I heard things. Not confessions, not yet, but cracks. A joke told a little too confidently. A name dropped when it shouldn't have been. A pause where there shouldn't have been one. One afternoon, I overheard two men arguing in the diner over who really cleaned up that mess years back. They didn't say Marcus's name. They didn't have to. My coffee went cold while my heart started beating like it was 20 again. I didn't react. That's the trick. You never react. You just listen. Later, at home, I wrote everything down. Hands steady, breathing slow. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger had burned itself out years ago. This was something else focused, purpose. Almost peaceful, in a twisted kind of way. Some nights I laughed to myself. Like, haha, if y'all only knew who you're gossiping around. I even let people underestimate me on purpose. Started wearing those ugly cardigans. Asked dumb questions. Pretended not to understand phones or apps. Meanwhile, I learned how to record conversations, back things up, save copies in places nobody would think to look. The internet is wild when you actually take time to learn it. Marcus used to tease me for being slow with tech. Guess who's laughing now? Kid. I also noticed something else power makes people sloppy. The man at the center of all this? He loved to talk about himself, loved telling stories about hard decisions and family loyalty. He liked being seen as a survivor, a self-made man. Ha! Those types always rewrite their origin story. I ran into him once at a charity event. First time in decades. He didn't recognize me. Not even a flicker. Just smiled that politician smile and shook my hand like it didn't matter. And you know what? That hurt. Then it didn't. Because right there, standing inches from the man who took my son, I felt something unexpected. He had no idea who I was. No idea what I knew. I went home that night buzzing, heart racing, whispering, slow down to myself like a damn mantra. Revenge ain't a sprint. It's chess. You don't flip the board when you see your opening. You let the other player think they're winning. And he really thought he was. By the time folks started noticing me, it was already too late. That's the funny thing about patience. People don't respect it because it looks like nothing. Haha. They think if you ain't loud, you ain't dangerous. If you ain't Russian, you ain't serious. I leaned into that. How'd I let my days look boring as hell? Grocery runs, library visits, church on Sundays, even though I stopped believing a long time ago. Faith didn't leave Met, trust did. I smiled at neighbors, waved at kids riding bikes, played the role of the lonely old widow so well, I almost convinced myself sometimes. Almost inside, though, my mind stayed busy, always ticking. Always sorting. I started mapping people the way I used to map lesson plans. Who talked to who? Who owed who? Who drank too much and who couldn't keep their mouth shut after 2 glasses of wine? Damn, alcohol is better than any interrogation room. I learned that quick. One woman city clerk type, always stressed, always complaining, started talking to me like I was her therapist. Ha! I let her unload about paperwork, about pressure from up top, about files being altered years ago for the good of the town. I nodded when Emma pretended I didn't hear the part where she said the date. That date burned into my brain. Same year Marcus died. There it is. That night, I sat in my living room, lights off, TV muted, whispering Marcus's name like I was calling him home. I didn't cry. Tears stopped working a long time ago. Instead, I laughed softly. Not happy. Not crazy. Just satisfied. Because the picture was getting clearer. The man I hated didn't act alone. He never did. He had help. He had shields. He had people who told themselves they were just doing their jobs. That's how evil survives, wrapped in paperwork and polite excuses. I started volunteering at the school again. Just part-time, helping with tutoring. Safe place. Familiar ground. Parents trusted me. Staff trusted me. And wouldn't you know it, the man's foundation donated big money there. Scholarships. New tech. His name everywhere. Shiny and clean. Ha ha. Poetic. Really? The place where I taught kids about truth now, sponsored by a lie. I played nice, attended events, sat through speeches, watched him talk about legacy and family values, while I counted every lie like a bead on a rosary. Sometimes I'd feel this heat rise up in my chest, like I could end this right now. Flip the table, scream his sins into the microphone, but that urge, that's ego. Ego ruins everything. I swallowed it, let it pass. At home, I started organizing everything. Not just files, stories, timelines, cause and effect. I practiced telling it out loud, calm and steady, like I was lecturing a class, because when the time came, I didn't want rage in my voice. Rage makes people doubt you. Calm makes them listen. Marcus used to say I scared him more when I got quiet. Ha, smart boy. The closer I got, the lighter I felt. Isn't that messed up? You'd think plotting revenge would rot you from the inside, but now waiting for justice, real justice, that felt like breathing again. Some nights I'd sit there and say out loud, "You still got it, old lady," and laugh into my empty house, because I wasn't chasing the past anymore. I was building an ending, and endings. Those are my specialty. The invitation came in the mail like it was nothing special. Plain envelope, cream paper, fancy font trying too hard to look humble. Ha! I almost tossed it with the junk before I caught the name at the bottom, the foundation. His foundation. I stood there in the kitchen a long minute, envelope in my hand, microwave humming behind me, thinking, guess the universe finally picked up the phone. It was for a community recognition event, honoring educators who shaped generations. Cute. Real cute. They wanted me on stage. Me? The widow nobody noticed for years. Irony got jokes. I laughed out loud, the sound bouncing off empty walls. Then stopped real quick because suddenly it wasn't funny anymore. It was serious. This wasn't random. It never is. They needed faces like mine. Safe faces. Respectable faces. Old women with soft voices and clean records to make dirty money look holy. IRS VPD, yes, the same day. Didn't hesitate. That night, sleep didn't come easy. My mind ran laps, playing out every angle, every what if. I told myself over and over, slow down. Because excitement is just panic wearing a pretty dress. In the weeks leading up, I prepared like it was finals week all over again, practiced my speech in the mirror, then practiced throwing it away, because the speech they expected and the truth I planned, two different animals. I dressed the part too, nothing flashy, nothing dramatic, soft colors, conservative cut, grandma core, as the kids say. Ha! I wanted them relaxed. I wanted them bored. I wanted them thinking, this old lady ain't about to say nothing spicy. Meanwhile, my bag held copies, backups, receipts on receipts, digital and paper, because trust me, you never rely on one method when you're dealing with men who erase things for sport. The day of the event, I got there early, walked the hall slow, took in the banners, the smiling faces, the cameras being set up. Camera sat. was the best part. They thought they were controlling the narrative. Nah, they were archiving it. I saw him across the room, laughing too loud, slapping backs, shaking hands like he owned the air. He glanced my way and smiled polite. Empty. Didn't know me. Still didn't know me. Damn. I took my seat and folded my hands, breathing steady. Heart calm. That surprised me. I thought I'd be shaking. Crying? Nah. I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. When they called my name, the applause came warm and easy. People love nostalgia, love a survivor story. I stepped up to the mic, adjusted it like I'd done 1,000 times before, and started the speech they expected. Thank you. Memories, laughter. Ha-ha, heads nodded. Smiles spread. Then I paused, just long enough. Silence makes people uncomfortable. That's when they lean in. I shifted my tone. Not angry, not dramatic, just honest. I talked about my son, not by name at first. Just a story, a case closed too fast. You could feel the room change, like air pressure dropping. Some folks looked confused. Some looked nervous. He stiffened. I noticed. Oh yeah, I noticed. I kept going. Calm, clear, dates, names, patterns. I didn't accuse. I presented, like a lesson plan, like evidence. That's when the murmurs started. Camera zoomed. The man's face drained of color. I reached into my bag and held up the file, not waving it, not slamming it, just holding it. Steady, I said. Truth don't need volume. It just needs daylight. Ah, sirens outside. Perfect timing. Like the universe had a sense of humor after all. When they walked in, people gasped. Phones went up. The lie finally cracked. Loud and ugly. They escorted him out while I stood there. 60 years old, spine straight, voice steady, thinking, damn, Marcus, you see this? I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just finished my sentence and stepped away from the mic. Because revenge I senti, the moment they fall it, the moment you don't need them to anymore. You'd think the moment after the truth drops would feel loud, like fireworks or some big dramatic movie ending. Nah, it's quiet. Real quiet. The kind of quiet that rings in your ears and makes you wonder if you still breathing. After they took him out, hands stiff, jaw tight, smile gong. The room didn't know what to do with itself. People stared at me like I'd just turned water into wine or burned the place down. Couldn't tell which. Ha-ha. Funny thing is, I didn't feel powerful. I felt empty. Not hollow empty like grief, but finished, like when you finally put down a heavy bag you've been carrying so long you forgot it was there. I walked off that stage, slow, steady, ignoring the whispers chasing me like gnats. Cameras followed for a second, then peeled off, hungry for the next angle. That's media for you never stays where the truth actually is. Outside, the air hit my face cold and clean, and I breathed. Deep. First real breath in decades. My phone started buzzing right away. Messages stacking up faster than I could read. Former students, co-workers, folks who hadn't said my name in years. Some thanked me. Some apologized. Some asked questions they should have asked a long time ago. I didn't answer. Not yet. That night wasn't for explanations. It was for silence. I went home, kicked off my shoes, poured myself a drink, and sat in the dark like I used to, but this time it felt different. No plotting, no rehearsing, just sitting. The news played low in the background, my story chopped into sound bites, my face frozen mid-sentence like I was some kind of symbol now. Imagine that! An old teacher turned headline. I shook my head and laughed once. Soft. Marcus would have had jokes for days. Then the guilt tried to creep in. It always does. That little voice asking, was it worth it? Did you ruin lives? AOA, that voice don't get to speak tonight. I answered it anyway, calm and honest. I didn't ruin anything. I uncovered it. There's a difference. Days passed, weird after that. Reporters showed up. Strangers recognized me in grocery stores. Some folks hugged me like they knew me. Others avoided eye contact like truth was contagious. The town split down the middle, support on one side, denial on the other. That didn't surprise me. People protect comfort like it's religion. What had surprised me was how light my body felt. My knees still hurt. My back still ached. But that constant pressure on my chest, gone. I visited Marcus's grave for the first time in months. Sat there, talked to him like he was late again, told him the story from start to finish, laughed when I remembered the good parts, went quiet when the wind picked up. I didn't do it angry, I told him. I did it right. And that mattered. Because revenge driven by rage eats you alive. Justice done with patience. That lets you live. I stood up slow, brushed dirt off my hands, and realized something real clear. I wasn't defined by what I took down. I was defined by what I survived. The world would keep spinning. Trials would come. Arguments. Opinions. But my part was done. And damn, that felt like freedom. Freedom ain't fireworks. I learned that quick. It's more like a slow morning with nowhere you gotta be. After the dust settled, life didn't suddenly turn sweet or simple. Nah, it just got honest. People still stared. Some smiled like I gave them hope. Others frowned like I'd ruined their favorite lie. Ha ha. Can't please everybody, and I stopped trying a long time ago. The town meetings got louder, lawyers started circling, and everyone suddenly had opinions about truth, justice, and timing. Timing ain't. That a joke. Funny how nobody worried about timing when my son was bleeding out on asphalt, EA. I stayed out of it as much as I could. Gave my statement, answered what mattered. Then I went back to my routines, walks in the evening, cheap coffee in the morning, books I'd been meaning to read for years. At night, memories still came, but they didn't punch me in the chest anymore. They sat beside me instead. Marcus laughing. Marcus arguing. Marcus alive. I let myself miss him without hating the world for it. That was new. Some days I felt proud. Other days, I felt tired as hell. Doing the right thing don't make you invincible, it just makes you able to sleep. I got letters from former students saying I taught them courage without ever meaning to. That hit me harder than any headline. Because legacy ain't tea statues or scholarships that ask the quiet ways you change how people see the truth. I kept thinking about how close I came to losing myself to waiting. How patience can turn bitter if you don't watch it. Balance is everything. I didn't win. I didn't lose. Finished. And sometimes, finishing is the bravest damn thing a person can do. Quiet got heavy after a while. Not loud heavy, not dramatic heavy, just that low, steady weight that settles in when the adrenaline finally packs up and leaves. People think the storm is the hard part. Haha, nah. It's the calm after that'll test you. Weeks slid into months, and the town kept chewing on my name like it was a story that refused to go stale. Every coffee shop had a version. Every porch had an opinion. Some folks said I was brave. Some said I was bitter. Some said I waited too long. Others said I should have stayed silent. Silence is everybody's favorite advice when it benefits them. I learned to let the noise pass through me like bad radio, annoying but ignorable. Mornings became my safe place. I'd wake up early, joints complaining, shuffle to the kitchen, and make coffee the slow way just to remind myself I wasn't rushing for anyone anymore. Steam rising, sunlight creeping in, that first sip burning just right. Damn, peace tastes simple. I started writing again, not notes, not evidence, just thoughts. Messy stuff, angry stuff, funny stuff. I laughed at myself a lot, caught mid-sentence going, haha. Look at you, still dramatic. Some days the guilt tried sneaking back in, wearing a new coat. What if you hurt people who didn't deserve it? What if you went too far? I'd sit with those questions instead of swatting them away. That's grown woman work right there, letting doubt speak without letting it drive. And every time, the answer came back steady. Truth didn't hurt them. Liz did. I visited places I'd avoided for years, the old park, the corner where Marcus used to wait for rides, the stretch of road I swore I'd never stand on again. I stood there one afternoon, cars whooshing by, thinking of, this is where everything split in two. I expected pain. What I felt instead was clarity. The world didn't stop for my loss. It never does. But it also didn't erase it. I was proof of that. People still came by the house sometimes, wanting stories, wanting closure, wanting me to be something for them. I gave what I could and sent the rest on their way. I didn't owe the world my wounds. Evenings, I'd sit on the porch, watch the sky change colors like it was showing off just for me. Funny how beauty keeps happening whether you're ready or not. I thought about legacy a lot. What stays after the talking dies down? Not the headlines, not the arguments. The quiet courage it takes to wait without rotting. The discipline to strike without cruelty. Ha! Nobody teaches that in school. Maybe they should. I felt older than 60 some nights. Younger than 30 others. Time stopped behaving once my purpose finished. And that was okay. I wasn't lost. I was unburdened. The truth had done its job. Now it was my turn to live with it. After a while, you stop being the story and start being the echo. That's when things get real. The trials rolled on without me needing to sit in every chair or answer every call. Lawyers talked. Papers shuffled. Men who once walked tall started shrinking in public, shoulders hunched, voices tight. I watched from a distance. Not out of mercy, out of sanity, ha. I didn't wait 30 years just to drown in someone else's downfall. I had my own life to catch up with. Funny thing is, when you've been defined by waiting for so long, living feels suspicious at first. Like, am I allowed to enjoy this? Am I allowed to laugh at dumb TV shows? Flirt with the idea of traveling? Say yes to things without checking the clock of grief? Turns out, yeah, you are. I started saying yes in small ways. Yes to brunch with old coworkers who finally admitted they'd suspected something was wrong all along. Yes, to late walks where the air smelled like rain and asphalt and memories didn't punch me anymore. Yes, to forgiving myself for the nights I wished the world would just end already. That one took time. Forgiving herself always does. I'd catch myself mid-laugh and freeze. Like happiness was a trap. Like Marcus would vanish if I smiled too wide. Then, I'd hear his voice in my head, Ma. Stop acting weird. Ha! Damn, kid's still bossy from beyond the grave. People ask me what it felt like to win. I hated that word. Winning sounds like a game, like someone had to lose for me to breathe. I told them the truth instead. It felt like closing a door that'd been slamming in the wind for decades. Peace isn't loud. It's sturdy. It lets you lean on it. Some nights, doubt came back wearing nostalgia, whispering, what if you'd spoken sooner? I'd answer it straight. Sooner me wasn't ready. Sooner me was broken glass. I needed time to become steel. They usually shut it up. I started mentoring younger teachers, telling them the stuff they don't teach in college, how systems protect themselves, how silence gets rewarded, how courage ain't about shouting first. Ha! Those kids listened like I was handing out forbidden knowledge. Maybe I was. I liked that. One afternoon, I found myself cleaning out a drawer and came across the old notebooks, the notes, the timelines, the names. All that weight. I held them for a second, felt how heavy paper can be when it's soaked in years, then boxed them up, not to hide them, not to burn them, just to put them down. You don't need to keep carrying proof once the truth stands on its own. I slept better after that. Deep, dreamless sleep, the kind I forgot existed. When I woke up, the house felt lighter, like it had exhaled with me. I realized then that the last act of revenge wasn't exposure, it was release. Letting go without forgetting, remembering without bleeding. Ha ha! Turns out that's the real flex. I thought once the truth was out, things would settle down. Ha ha! Nah, truth don't settle, it spreads. It ripples. It bumps into corners you didn't even know existed. Folks started coming out the woodwork, one by one, like my story unlocked something in them. A woman from the next county said her brother got railroaded years ago by the same crew. An old man cornered me outside the pharmacy, eyes shaking, voice low, telling me how he signed papers he didn't understand because somebody told him it was for the good of the town. That phrase, again. Funny how good always seems to benefit the same people. I listened. That became my new habit, listening, without promising anything. I wasn't here to lead a revolution. I was just standing where the light happened to be. And damn if people didn't walk toward it on their own. Some days, it felt heavy again, like grief wearing a new mask. Other days, it felt necessary, like this was the price of finally being honest. I started realizing my story wasn't just mine anymore, and that scared me a little. Not because I regretted it, but because responsibility hits different when you didn't ask for it. I caught myself thinking, Marcus, look what you started, and laughing like a crazy woman in the kitchen. Ha ha. He always had that effectable without trying. I stayed careful, though. I didn't let myself get pulled into every fight. I learned long ago that burnout is just silence with extra steps. Instead, I picked moments, conversations, truths that mattered. The man at the center of all this, still fighting, still denying, still playing the victim card like it wasn't worn thin as hell. Watching that didn't make me angry anymore. It made me tired, because lies take energy. Truth just sits there. People ask me what I wanted next. Fame? Justice for others? A seat at some table? Ha ha! Nah. I wanted my mornings. I wanted my name back. I wanted to stop being defined by the worst night of my life. And slowly, quietly, I felt that happening. Not closure, not yet. Just distance. And sometimes, distance is mercy. Somewhere along the way, I had to draw lines. Quiet ones, invisible ones. Because when people smell truth, they rush it like it's a sale about to end. Ha ha! Everybody wants a piece. Everybody wants you to say the thing that proves their pain matters most. I get it. I really do. But I wasn't built to be a megaphone. I was built to be a witness. So I started saying no. No interviews, no panels, no late-night calls from folks who wanted me angry on demand. Saying no felt wrong at first, like I was betraying something. Then it felt right. Damn right. Protecting your peace is work. And work deserves respect. I noticed how fast people tried to shape me into a character. The fearless crusader, the grieving mother, the righteous avenger. None of those were lies, but none of them were the whole truth either. The whole truth was messier. Some days I woke up strong as steel. Other days I woke up heavy, like my bones were remembering everything at once. I let both days exist, I started walking a different route through town just to see new things, murals going up where walls used to be blank, kids skating where nobody hung out before. Change doesn't ask permission. It just happens. I ran into the man's lawyer once outside the courthouse. He recognized me instantly. Eyes sharp, smile tight. He tried to talk around me like we were two professionals discussing weather. Ha ha! I shut that down quick. Say what you mean, I told him, calm as ever. He didn't. Of course he didn't. Men like that never do. They rely on fog. I kept walking, heart steady, realizing something important. I wasn't afraid anymore. Not of him, not of backlash, not of losing whatever spotlight I never asked for. Fear used to be my shadow. Now it lagged behind me, tired. That night, I sat on my porch, watched the sky bruise into purple and blue, and thought about Marcus again. At the night I lost him, but a random afternoon when he stole my car keys and laughed like life was endless. Ha ha! That's the version of him I want the world to remember. Not a headline, not a tragedy, just a kid who existed loudly. I whispered to the dark. I'm still here, and meant it in a way that surprised me, because surviving isn't the same as living, and I was finally doing the second one, even with the lines drawn, even with the weight still there, especially because of it. Perspective sneaks up on you. One day you're counting hours, next thing you know, you're counting seasons. I started measuring time by small wins, quiet dinners, mornings without dread, nights where sleep came easy instead of wrestling me to the floor. Ha-ha! Turns out, peace has a learning curve. I'd catch myself scanning rooms out of habit, checking exits, reading faces, and then I'd laugh. Like a, relax, old lady, you ain't on watch anymore. But habits don't disappear. They fade slow like scars losing color. People still tested my boundaries. Some wanted me to endorse their truth. Others wanted me to tear down another villain. Like justice was a vending machine, you kick until it drops what you want. Nah. I stayed steady. I listened when it mattered. I stepped back when it didn't. That balance, harder than any speech I ever gave. The town kept changing too. New businesses, new faces. Old grudges trying to pretend they were ancient history. I saw kids I taught walking their own kids to school. And that messed with my head in the best way. Life keeps moving whether you keep up or not. One afternoon, I ran into a woman who'd crossed the street to avoid me months ago. She stopped me this time. Apologized. Not dramatic, just honest. Said she was scared of what my truth meant for her comfort. Ha, fair enough. Fear hates mirrors. We stood there a minute, two women with different regrets, and let the moment be what it was. No speeches, no closure bow, just real. At home, I started clearing space literally and otherwise, gave away old clothes, tossed papers I didn't need, kept the ones that still spoke to me. I wasn't erasing my past. I was editing. There's a difference. Nights I'd sit with a glass of something cheap and talk to Marcus like he was late again. Told him about the dumb stuff, the neighbor's dog, the crooked mailbox, the way the moon looked too bright some evenings. I told him I wasn't done yet. Not with living, not with telling the truth when it counted. Just done chasing ghosts. That felt right, because the long view teaches you something simple and stubborn. You, Dante, have to finish the fight to finish your part. You just have to stay honest enough to keep walking. Endings don't show up wearing tuxedos. They slide in quiet, sit beside you, and wait for you to notice. That scout felt the morning I woke up and realized I wasn't carrying the past like a loaded weapon anymore. It was still there, don't get it twisted, but it wasn't running the show. I made coffee, stood by the window, watched the street wake up, and thought, guess this is what earned peace feels like. Not flashy, Not loud, just solid. The trials wrapped up the way they usually do, slow, messy, unsatisfying for folks who wanted fireworks. Accountability happened. Consequences landed. Not perfect, but real enough to matter. I didn't attend the last hearing. Didn't need to. My part was already written in ink. People still recognized me sometimes. Nodded with respect. Whispered like I was a ghost who decided to stay. Ha ha! Let them whisper. I started mentoring quietly again. This time not as a teacher with a syllabus, but as a woman with scars and patience. I told people the truth straight. Justice ain't revenge, and revenge ain't peace. Patience is power. Silence can be strategy. And waiting doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're choosing your moment. Some nights, I still talked to Marcus, told him I missed him. Told him I laughed that day. Told him I kept going. And A.O. That was enough, because the story wasn't about how long I waited or how hard someone fell. It was about what stayed standing after the noise died down. I stayed standing. 60 years old. Not broken. Not bitter. Still here. Still honest. Still breathing. And that, right there, is the ending they never planned for. Called to action, professional and clean. If this story moved you, challenged you, or reminded you that patience can be powerful, support the channel. Like the video to help this story reach others. Subscribe for more original, fictional justice stories centered on strength, resilience, and truth. Comment below, tell us what patience has taught you.